Jana,
Hello, we're doing our second edition of the Ask Us Anything.
ask us anything Pinterest and blogging um, themed. We did this about a month ago, and it was a hit, and we had a lot of great questions that were submitted that we didn't get a chance to get to. So we thought we would do another one today. Um, so buckle in because we're hoping to cover a good chunk of those. And then if there's anything, obviously, from people that are here with us, we would like to answer those as well.
Okay.
All right. So the segment we're going to start out with, because there's a bunch of different buckets of topics that we were given when I
Okay.
put the survey out to my audience.
Yeah, which was really
Um,
smart of you to kind of bucket them up. Very good.
they came out as SEO, content strategy, like, that kind of thing, obviously, because this
Hmm.
is Pinterest and blogging. So this first little section we're going to talk about is SEO keywords and optimization. And this is more, it seems a little bit more leaning towards blogging, this question. So, um, but I think they're talking about Pinterest. You correct me if I'm wrong. The question
Okay.
says, are bios more EEAT or SEO driven, or a little bit of both?
Okay. That's
So
interesting.
Pinterest bios
Right.
mixing with Google SEO terminology there.
Concepts. Right. Yeah. Did you want me to take this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so this is interesting. And like you said, I'm not 100% sure exactly the intention of the question, but I think I have a feeling I know what she means. So EEAT, like you said, is Google terminology. It's experience, expertise, authority, trustworthiness. And basically, these are things that Google says it wants to see in blog posts in order to like index them favorably and find them to be like helpful. And then SEO, when she says SEO, I think she means like being very keyword driven. So I think what she's saying is like for your Pinterest bio, when you're writing your Pinterest bio, should you lean more toward writing words and phrases that show what you're an expert in and how you help and that you're trustworthy, maybe like authority markers? Or should you lean more in the direction of like, these are the four main keywords that I want to be found on Pinterest. I'm going to make sure that I put those four main keywords, or at least three of them, or something like that, keyword phrases into my bio. And it's a really good question. And the answer, really, in my book, is really kind of both, but leaning a little bit more in the direction of the SEO. So I would say, and it's interesting because, like, at first glance, the question's like, well, isn't EEAT the same thing as SEO? Because EEAT is really what like Google wants to see for something to rank, but we're also talking about Pinterest. But I think that's what she means by that. Would you, before I answer, do you think that do you think that's a good, is that how
I
you would
think
imagine
so.
she means the question too? Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I would do a little bit of both. I would look at your keyword list that you have generated, your keyword phrases. And this is something I always teach, and Heather teaches as well, where before you start thinking about how you're gonna build or re-optimize or clean up your Pinterest profile and what you're gonna pin and what your boards are going to be about and things like that. The first step is to really develop a keyword strategy, which really just means making a keyword list of keyword phrases that you know are being searched on Pinterest that you would like to be found for. So when people search this, you would like to be found for that, right? And so we both have methods that we teach that are like step by step exactly how to develop that keyword list. I teach that in my course. Heather teaches that in the membership. And then once you have that list, you're putting it in various places in the profile and the pins. And so one of those places is your bio. And I do think that you want to make sure you've included maybe three-ish, maybe four-ish of the long tail keywords that are the most important and highest priority for you that also describe who you are, what you do, and how you help people and what kind of container you help them in, kind of thing. So that's more the EEAT part. But like for example, you should be able to naturally write if you've done your keyword research right and you have a keyword plan and a list of keywords that's aligned with your business and your content. And if your content is aligned with your business, then all of these things should like line up. You should be able to write a bio that does get across your expertise and your authority markers and things like that while also incorporating those keywords. Um, One example, though, that I give in my blog post about how to write a Pinterest bio that grows your followers and gets you clients is like, I think there's one example in there that's like, well, let me say it this way. Your bio should be not so much about you. It should be about the person who's looking at it, or really you in the context of how you can help the person who's looking at it. And so, like when it comes to authority markers, instead of just like listing out your credentials, you want to be thinking more in terms of like how many people have you helped achieve that goal type of thing, or how have you helped people achieve that goal. And that's also going to get across that um, experience, that expertise. It's an authority marker, but it's not all about like you. It's more about how you help the person who's looking at your bio with the thing that you're an expert on. So hopefully that helps. Definitely make sure you're doing the SEO part where you're incorporating the keywords and a little bit of the EEAT stuff, kind of like evaluating it for that, but try to write the EEAT kind of stuff in a way that incorporates those long tail keywords that you want to be ranking for on Pinterest, because that's the SEO side. So you really want to be blending the two. So hopefully that helps.
I agree with you on blending the two. I think that's such a
Whew.
great way to go about it. I just saw I was auditing a Pinterest account, and I know some of the folks that watch the live streams and they join us, join me weekly on my long form videos in my community and beyond, have a bit of a, I don't know, like a, I don't know what to call it, like a bit of a beef with AI content on Pinterest these days.
Mm.
Anyways, this short story is I was auditing a Pinterest account and the Pinterest bio said, these are like recipes designed in my own kitchen, tested by a real human. And I just
Hmm.
thought that was like so down to earth.
Yeah, such a good authority marker. Or like
Yeah.
actually that's more the T in the EEAT, right? The trustworthiness, although it there's overlap between them, but yeah, love it.
Okay, let's see what else we have. Okay, so in this same kind of it's not the same vein because we're going to move on to content blogging and monetization just briefly, but is Pinterest or blogging still viable sources to generate an income when promoting physical products? I think this question is more for me. Did you
Yep.
highlight this for me?
I think it's a good one for you. Take it
Great.
away.
Okay, so Pinterest is definitely shifting heavily towards e-commerce these days.
Mm.
You probably have noticed this in your own feeds if you're watching with us live or on the replay. There are tons of products just in the home feeds on Pinterest these days, in the related feeds. Obviously, you can search for it, but that just feels like what they're prioritizing right now almost,
Hmm. Yep.
at least in what I'm seeing. So, and obviously, I could be, and I am definitely biased with how I'm using the platform, but I definitely think that they are pushing more towards e-commerce.
Hmm.
Um, I won't get into, the brain sizzling reasons why I think that is the case, but from a business perspective with the decisions they've been making lately, I definitely think that is going to become more of the case going into the future as well. So as far as Pinterest and e-commerce is concerned, yes, um, blogging to generate an income when promoting physical products, obviously you're going to have to do that in a really strategic way that answers people's questions, that meets them where they're at and their pain point, but also does a really good job of selling or building trust to get them to continue to consume content in order to continue to build trust and then ultimately purchase.
Hmm.
So it's not generally something that people are going to see one blog article and be like, yeah, I'm going to buy this $500 thing.
Hmm.
Um, but it is something over time that I do think can be beneficial to the business overall.
Hmm.
Jana?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think to me it comes down to choosing topics really strategically.
Yeah.
And you can think about your blog as an SEO tool in terms of like what are people searching and writing things about that. But you can also, the part I think, like you said, that people miss is like thinking about, and the way I say it in my program and in my frameworks is like, what do people need to hear and learn and understand more deeply to feel ready to buy? And
Yeah.
sometimes those things overlap with what people are searching, but sometimes it's different. Um, so thinking about it from, through the top, through both of those lenses is probably the way to go with a product business, I would think.
Yeah. Okay. So
Mhm.
I have another question related to blogging,
Okay.
and this one is related to affiliate links. So it says, do you have to post affiliate links via a blog or similar?
Mm. I think I get that question. I think
So
we should
these
both
days,
answer it.
yeah, let me answer it from the Pinterest kind of influencer
Mhm.
perspective, and then you can answer it from the blogging.
If
So
needed.
from one side of the coin, there's definitely a lot more affiliate linking going on Pinterest these days. I'm seeing so many Amazon products, and I imagine they're affiliate links. Um, I'm doing it with my own clients, like they're creating, collage type pins and then putting them in, the tagging functionality within the pin builder. Now,
To
one of the
tag
things,
to tag an Amazon affiliate link.
yeah.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that I have that I hear a lot when people are doing this is, well, I'm seeing a lot of clicks on my affiliate links, but I'm not getting sales. Or I'm linking affiliates in blog posts, but it's not generating a sale. And I think the number one issue most people face when they're doing affiliate marketing is they probably are taking like these low quality affiliate marketing courses that are teaching them how to create content and then put affiliate links on it, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not learning how to do conversion content,
Yeah, it's like they're teaching the tactic, but not really the
not
strategy behind
the
the content.
strategy or the brain power behind it.
That's like the human psychology part.
Yeah,
hmm
exactly. So I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's true because I feel like my program that I teach is so heavy on the human psychology part of it. So much so sometimes that I sometimes have students say like, "Can we talk about the tactics?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure," and we do talk about the tactics, but I feel like there's so much out there about the tactics and not as much about the like what gets people buying part. And I agree with you, these like kind of like it's almost like get rich quick types of schemes that are out there that's like, oh, I'll just teach you how to like add affiliate links. And it's like, oh my God, perfect. I'm going to learn this like tactic of like copying the
Hmm.
link, where to put it, how to do the link. And then it's going to make me all this money. But if you don't understand what makes people decide to actually do the buying part of it and then incorporate that somehow into what you're doing, then you're going to end up with exactly that result you're talking about. Like a lot of people seeing them or maybe even clicking on them, but not really actually doing the purchase, which is where you make the money, right? Um, so definitely. And I think it really comes back to, again, the idea of like, have you given yourself, are you getting across the things people need to feel ready to buy? So when they
Hmm.
find the link, when they find your like your tactic, your link that you've posted, do they already know all the things that they would need to feel ready to buy whatever this thing is that you're linking? Probably not. And so
No.
I think this comes back to part of the original, I would imagine, thought process behind the person who asked the question, because they were asking, do you have to post affiliate links via a blog post or similar? And so,
Yeah.
no, you don't. You don't have to put it in a blog post. But if you link to a blog post and in that blog post, you're writing about, let's say, a problem or a pain point that they have, that affiliate product helps solve, and you're explaining how it does, and maybe you're even sharing some of your own unique insights. This comes back to that EEAT thing, right? About how you've used this product and how it helped you solve this problem, or how you saw another person who bought this product either through you or not use it to solve a certain problem. Now you're talking, right? Now you're starting to show someone like why they would buy this, and instead of just showing them a link to a product, right? Um, and then there are other like levers you can pull. It's not just about pain points and problems, but that's one of them. It's kind of like the first one that we usually talk about. I teach a 9 and 2 content pillar system, and like the first pillar is problems. So, like, that's the one that my mind goes to automatically. And I know for yours it does too. And I think one of the
Yeah.
reasons why it does is because humans, we know from a human psychology perspective that probably the number one driver of humans is moving away from pain, right? And then probably secondary is like moving towards pleasure. So it's like the carrot or the stick kind of thing. And I think we've learned over the years as marketers, or sometimes if you didn't learn this in a marketing class, you just kind of figured it out in life, that generally speaking, humans are a little more motivated, just a little more motivated by the stick than they are the carrot. And so talking about problems and pain points is very effective in marketing, which is one of the reasons it's like a go-to strategy, but it's not the
Yeah,
only one. But that's one of the ways where if you're writing a blog post, you're giving yourself space in that blog post to actually show them that. Whereas if you just link an affiliate link directly to a pin on Pinterest, you have a little bit of space to show them that on a pin. Like you could probably get across how this solves a pain point, but you don't have as much space to communicate that thing that they need to feel ready to buy, right? So I think that would be my thought on whether or not you need to put affiliate links in a blog. You don't have to, but for some circumstances, for some types of products, in some cases, you may find that it's more effective. And more effective is defined as actually getting people to buy, which is where you actually make the money, right?
perfect. That's my opinion as well.
Yep. I know it. We share a brain.
There's just so many skills that people need to learn um, before like trying to sell products, essentially. I feel like you shouldn't try selling until you've learned some other really tactical skills. Okay, so
Yeah.
someone on the chat says, how would I use Pinterest if I only have one of each item? I resell vintage dresses on Etsy, but once someone buys it, it's gone. Is it worth to create pins for only one item? It could be because you have a unique vintage store. So, what's going to happen is that link will no longer go to that product. Um, on Etsy, like it should then go to your store. I would test out pinning a link to from Etsy today and putting it on Pinterest to an out of stock item and seeing if it still goes to your store or if it goes just to Etsy. If it just
Mm.
goes to Etsy, then maybe it's not worth doing. But if it goes to your store, it could still be worth doing because then they could look at the other items that you have. The way that we do this on Shopify is we create a category of like past items where it doesn't end up being a dead link, but they still get to the store.
Yeah, gosh, people have been asking you this question, Heather, for years. I
I
remember
know.
this might have been like one of the first things I heard you talk about on Clubhouse that made me think, oh my God, this woman's brilliant. Um, because I remember you saying that basically if you are on Shopify and you could have more control over your domain or you have control over your domain, once an item sells out, you can actually do a 301 redirect and redirect it to the category so that if they saw like a baby doll style dress that they loved, but it's now sold out because it was a one, unique one of a kind dress, now that link will automatically you'll have it redirecting to the baby doll dress category, so they'll see like seven other dresses that aren't the same but are similar. And that's still a good client experience, right? A good
Yeah.
user experience. So are you saying, if I think I'm understanding right, but I just want to clarify because I have this question, I'm sure others do. You don't have that same kind of control on Etsy to be able to create like a redirect like that,
Oh no.
right? Okay.
No. I would assume that there's some sort of like thing in there where you have like you put in how many you have in your stock, and once it's not in stock, the item won't like it's probably set to the item won't renew its listing because you have to pay for listings on Etsy.
Hmm.
And I just don't know what that looks like because I've never sold physical products, so I'm really not sure.
Hmm.
But I would love to see your vintage shop if you would throw it in the chat for me because I want to buy a vintage dress. I told my husband this summer is the summer of dresses.
Ooh, I love that for you. Oh my
I can't
gosh,
wait.
great. Yeah,
Can't
that's
wait.
perfect for Arizona weather.
I know.
Dresses, they're so like airy and yeah,
Hmm.
love it.
Okay, let's move on to account setup niches and platform strategy. I have a question that is for sure for Jana.
Uh-oh.
I'm a life coach specialist in adult caregivers for aging parents.
Mhm.
Not that this has anything to do with your past caregiving, Jana. It's that you help coaches. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I use Pinterest and blogging to reach my audience? And if so, how would I get started? Do you have
Woo.
like a
Yeah.
short and snappy version?
Yes. Do I have a short and snappy version?
Yeah.
Have you met me? I don't have any short and snappy versions.
Well, the only reason I say that is because I know that you have a meeting
Oh,
soon
yeah, you're
and
right.
you have to prepare. So,
Heather's like, listen, it's in your best interest to keep this short and snappy. Yeah, it's interesting because I actually just got off a call a couple days ago with my client Carrie, who is a coach for adult caregivers of aging parents with dementia, and she is so awesome. She wrote a book, and I actually just bought the book for a family member of mine who needed it. Um, so yes, absolutely. So in terms of blog and Pinterest both. So essentially, the shorter answer would be you would develop a content plan. And this is something I teach inside of my program, High Leverage Content. And today's the last day of the launch. You can actually
today's
still
the
join
day.
today before tonight at midnight. At midnight, we're closing the doors for a stretch, probably until the fall, maybe with one exception, backdoor exception between now and then. Um, but you would develop a strategy that would help you rate between 12 and 20 blog posts and I call that a capsule blog library that are covering all the key things that your audience needs to feel ready to buy your offer. So essentially, I would be walking you through a process where you think about the most relevant and most aligned, and I'll explain what that means because it's kind of a fun, well, weird word, but topics excuse me, problems and desires that they have, where we identify things that, when I say aligned, like not only problems they have, but problems that are the most closely related to the work that you do inside your paid offer, so that the content that you take the time to create is going to sell them on your paid offer. Um, we also look at the belief shifts that they need to make in order to feel ready to buy your offer. So like what's getting in the way of them thinking that they can improve the things that they want to improve with their relationship with their loved one and their own, personal life as it relates to their caregiving and things like that. What's getting in the way of them feeling like they can make the changes in your offer and helping them see, um, like busting myths around it and things like that.
Yep.
Answering main offer questions. So you build a capsule library of blog posts that covers those things. And then on the Pinterest side, you would find keywords that people are searching around the problems that you help solve. So for example, it might be something like how to help my mom with dementia or aging parent resources or things like that. We can find what's being searched on Pinterest around your topics and use those keywords to help your blog posts that you wrote that are designed to convert people to paying clients. We use, Pinterest to get those blog posts more visible and discovered by people who maybe don't know you yet, most likely, but are looking for
Yeah.
resources about the things that you help with. So that's kind of in a nutshell how it would work. And the answer is a resounding yes. Yes, you can use a blog. Yes, you can use Pinterest, and you don't have to use both. You could just do a blog, and there are other ways to get eyes on your blog. Pinterest is just one way to promote your
Yeah.
blog posts, but it's a great way, and it would work well for your niche, in my opinion.
Yeah. I definitely think that, especially because Gen X is going to start taking care of their boomer parents. The
Already
boomer
are.
generation already are, like, they're
Yep.
already aging out. I read an article recently that, like, the most ever, like, 80 to 90-year-olds in the United States are still driving their own cars.
Wow.
Um, in relation to like that generation, because it was such a large
Scary.
generation. I know.
Where Put your seatbelts on, folks.
Put your seatbelts on. But I think that generation specifically is aging right now, and they are
Mhm.
needing caregiving. And who's using Pinterest? Gen X, Millennials, and
Mhm.
then Gen Z's coming in behind.
Yep.
So, I'm even seeing a lot of content these days on social media where grandchildren are doing caregiving
Yep.
even.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
think your people are there.
I agree. And I do see another question on here. I don't know if we're going to get to it about whether Pinterest would work for like another niche. And in this case, it's OBMs, people providing systems and automation services.
Yeah.
And I want to say that if you're ever not sure, if you're like, oh, would Pinterest work for me, work for my niche? My recommendation always in those cases is to go and do some keyword research. And again, I teach you how to do that in my course. Heather teaches it in the membership. Because
Hmm.
if you can find keywords that people are searching around the things that you help with, that means people are searching with the things that you help with. And that's generally speaking, it might not be the only, factor to consider about whether Pinterest will work for you, but like it's a big one. If people are searching for the things that your offer helps them with, then, the chances are that the answer is yes, Pinterest is going to work for your niche.
Yeah,
So keyword research is how you find out if they are or not.
perfect. OBMs, I think actually systems and automation tools have historically been one of the biggest converters for
Yep.
content and traffic to my website
Yeah.
over the years because people who are
People love
searching
that stuff.
super specific tools like HoneyBook
Yep.
workflows or
Yep.
ClickUp templates or whatever, they're already primed
Right.
because they know exactly what they want. So they're at the end
Right.
of the journey. So there may be fewer of them, but I feel like they're more likely to convert.
Right. And guess which of my blog posts still to this day and which ones of my pins get the most organic reach on Pinterest and send the most organic outbound clicks to my website from Pinterest?
The Asana
The
ones.
3 blog posts that I wrote when I started my business in what was it, 16, 17, something like that, about how I
Yeah.
use Asana.
Yeah, that's
There,
crazy.
and they're still there, and they're always at the top when I go down and look at my top pins, both by impressions and by outbound clicks whenever I am looking at organic. Always.
So
So,
crazy.
yes, OBMs. Yes, OBMs.
Yes,
Your niche
OBMs.
works on Pinterest.
I would say the same for a lot of other like designers, lots of
Oh yeah.
designers, lots of
Yep.
people looking for design stuff.
Yes. Yep.
All the kind of little niches that you're like, I'm not sure if that's gonna work.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember in Clubhouse one day, a long time ago, somebody asked if there was a niche we ever had heard about that wouldn't work on Pinterest, and there was one where we were talking about how like if somebody was owned a funeral home. And then we were like, well, wait a minute, maybe. And then we went searching. So it's not often that there's a niche that truly could not work on Pinterest. And the thing about Pinterest is like it's so low maintenance that you can set it up, and do just a little bit. And even if you're in a niche that's not something that's going to get droves and droves and droves of traffic, like it's still worth it to set it up so that it sends you passive traffic, even if
yeah,
it's just a little bit every month, right?
even if people are just like you just set your profile up and you never touch it again,
Yeah,
people can still find that content that you create pins for.
right.
And search is actually becoming more and more important these days.
hmm
I have a theory I'm chewing on right now. I'm not going to share at the moment, but the kind of a future direction for the platform, and not even future, I think it's happening right now.
Mm.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see kind of what my other community of colleagues think about this. Jana, I need to send you a message about it too. But I do think that search is going to become even more important going into the future on Pinterest specifically.
Okay,
So
interesting. I mean, I've always felt like it was so important, but part of it I think is because I like it. I find it
yeah,
interesting. So I always like kind of like my course is very heavy on keyword research strategies and like even like deeper keyword research strategies because I think it's interesting. So, yeah.
yeah, it's okay. So let's do one more question and then I'm gonna let Jana go to have 20 minutes for prep and I also need to prep for another call.
Okay.
Um the last question is how do you make sections and what is needed for them? Is it different from having boards? So to answer the second part of that question first, is it different from having boards? Yes.
hmm
A section is a section inside of an existing board. So let's say you have a board about lemon dessert recipes, and inside of the board, you created a section called like lemon cupcakes, lemon cake and cupcakes. I really want to make lemon pound cake, Jana.
Yeah, sounds good. And then you'd have
Um,
another section about lemon pies and tarts.
yeah. Then you have another section about pies, and then you have another section about drinks, like whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Love it.
So sections are essentially mini boards inside of an existing like overarching board. Now, to make them, you need to have pins inside the board and you use one of the tools inside of the board to actually bulk select and then make the board. So you use this little sweepy broom thing,
Make the
click
section.
organize,
hmm
select the pins, and then you get an option at the bottom that says move, make a section, or delete.
hmm
Obviously, you're going to use the plus sign to make a section. You're going to give it a really SEO friendly name and you're going to move those pins into that section.
hmm
That's it.
Yep. I
Now,
remember years ago when it used to be that sections were not considered by the algorithm for SEO, but now they are, correct?
Yeah, Pinterest said last year that they do index section names. And this is like they came out in like March of last year and they
Oh, okay.
made
Who's
this
that?
big hullabaloo about boards and board organization and only pinning like certain amounts of pins to the boards, which I don't believe in. But
As a
that's
user
when they came
or?
out and basically said like, yeah, we're indexing section names.
Mhm. It makes sense that they just needed to, tweak something, whatever on the back end so that like the indexing system was looking at that as a factor. So that's
Yeah.
good. It's good for us, good for marketers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I
Well,
would say about sections is that like I think it can be a little bit of a place where people can overthink a little bit.
yeah, and
Um,
honestly, if you have enough content to put into a section,
Maybe it's
then
its
you
own
should
board.
just make a board.
Yeah, yeah.
And I tell my community all the time when they ask about sections, like if you have like 5 unique URLs,
Hmm.
make a board.
Right.
If you have
Yeah.
one URL inside of an overarching topic, then just make a section.
Yeah, yeah. I think for most of my students, Pinterest is such a like they're really trying to do a minimum viable strategy because they're typically people who work with clients and therefore have very limited time for marketing.
Yeah.
And they love Pinterest as a way to get passive traffic and passive leads, but they don't want to put a whole lot of time into it. So they really are looking for a minimum viable strategy. And so some of these things like creating sections, what would be another example? I can't think of another example, but there's little nuanced things like that that I kind of tell them, you know what, like don't spend your time on that. Not because
Hmm.
it's not legitimate or something, but just because like you only have a certain amount of brain space for this platform, and I just don't really see any need to be figuring out whether you should have sections. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't seem like part of the 20% that's going to get you the 80% of the results type of thing. So that's kind of one of those things where I'm like, you know what, don't worry about that. Trust me. But if someone really wants to create them, I'm not going to tell them no. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Well, that's it. We need to do some YouTube scheduling, which I'm going to get to once we have some topics picked out.
Okay.
And we'll see you back here next week.
All right. See everyone next week.
All right. Bye. There were a couple last